the goods, they provide the personnel and the resources, and they have not been documented. You know, and particularly the young people. We don't have a very strong framework for engaging young people and ensuring that they're employed, gainfully employed, and that they have hopes for Nigeria, for themselves within Nigeria. So these are the things I think we have to focus really forcefully on in terms of how far we have come. I hope that answers the first question.
Thank you very much, Madam, for those high points that you raised about Nigerian independence. Very quickly, just like to crystallize some of the things that I could gain from statements that we're not where we should be, and we also have problems.
I'm afraid I can't hear you. I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
She also questioned, okay, she also questioned some of the issues with, independence and statehood or nationhood. We'd like to go to the next panelist very quickly. Mr. Soji Adeniyi, I hope you're there, you can hear us. Mr.
Yes,
Soji Adeniyi is going to be looking at the humanitarian perspective to the SDGs. So Mr. Soji Adeniyi, if you can hear me, there is no doubt that the pandemic has shaken the SDGs to its very core. Pre-COVID, the humanitarian crisis in the Northeast was already affecting the country's implementation of goals. How do you think we can think or hold our national commitment to the goals without letting these challenges derail us? And what strategies should we put in place to address and manage emergencies and uncertainties in the light of lessons from COVID and the attainment of the SDGs? We have 5 minutes. Let's go now. Mr. Soji.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I hope everybody can hear me. Please confirm you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think looking at the theme of the assembly, which is 5 years into the SDGs, we have 10 years to go. And one thing we need to remember is that when we first had the Millennium Development Goals, we had specific goals and activities that we hoped to achieve. We had targets that we set for every nation. It's the same thing with the SDG goals. The SDG goals are even much more than what we had for the MDGs, where we now have 17 goals. The key thing about the 17 goals is that more than half of it, in fact, precisely 9 out of the 17 goals of the SDGs have direct implications for humanitarian action. Whether you want to talk about goal 1, no poverty, goal 2, zero hunger, goal 3, health and well-being, goal 4, health quality education, goal 5, gender equality, goal 6, clean water and sanitation, goal 7, sustainable cities and communities, goal 13, climate action, and goal 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions. These 9 goals out of the 17 has direct implications for how we deal with humanitarian situations. We are just in the middle of the COVID crisis, and we could see that the COVID situation in the country has given us a very challenging times for meeting the key goals and the targets of the SDGs. Let me take them, quickly because I only have 5 minutes. First, if you look at the health indicators that we have, all the things that we're supposed to achieve in the 15 years of the SDGs are choked down already by the challenges of COVID-19. Our primary health care is now overwhelmed because of the challenges of COVID-19. Up until this moment, please ensure that we mute everyone that is not speaking.
All right, can we just mute everybody?
Thank you. Thank you very much. So as we speak today, we can tell that the health industry, the health workers, the situation in the remotest villages that we have are severely affected by the effect of COVID-19. But one thing we can look forward to is to say that because of investment in health that government is doing now, we can probably hope that this would mean that post-COVID-19, larger investment in the health infrastructure would mean that we might be pushing much, much forward in the health indicators and the targets that are there for health. But if you look at education, for instance, up until this week, majority of these children in Nigeria and across the globe have been shut down from school. This means that SDG 4, which is quality education, ensuring inclusive and equitable quality education and promoting lifelong learning, will be severely affected, because if children are not in school, how then do you measure learning outcomes and transitions and, you know, ability for them to have basic education that will enhance the performance that will lead them out of poverty or lead their families out of poverty? Of course, what strategies can we do? We need to look at how we deal with education. We can't just sweep just from the classroom straight to online. We all know the challenges of online. I don't want to bore us with the IT issues, the cost of data, all the troubles that families are going through now trying to homeschool their children when they're already back at work. And, you know, there's no one at home to support home learning. These are real-time challenges that we are facing as a nation under the education. Then if you go forward to look at sustainable cities and communities, we see that our country is almost underwater in some part of the country. Jigawa, Sokoto, Kebbi states went through heavy flooding as a result of, you know, our non-readiness for the flooding season, which again, you know, takes us far away from the SDG indicators that says that we need to reduce the number of deaths and the number of people affected by nature-induced disasters and human-induced disasters if we must meet the goal and the targets of Goal 11. If we want to go step by step in assessing where we are with the goals, it is almost impossible for us to use this 1 hour to do the pure diagnostics. But the key thing that I want each and every one of us to take away from here is the fact that we're still not where we're supposed to be in terms of engagement even with the SDGs. And that's why I'm happy that the Nigeria Network of NGOs is bringing people from different sectors of the economy and the non-governmental space to this assembly. And of course, within the context of what we're doing today, I'm hoping that, you know, this will help everyone that is in the space, especially those that are in the humanitarian space, rejig their strategies. For instance, education does not have to take place in the 4 walls. We need to begin to think how education will happen outside of the 4 walls of the schools. And even if we're going to shut down schools, we will only need to shut down schools in the epicenter of epidemics or pandemics. We do not need to shut down national schools when some states are reporting less than 10 to 15% positivity rates. So we can highlight the local governments that have crisis, isolate their schools and say, these ones are not going to go to school. And then we can deploy all systems, including online and other systems, to those, you know, places where there are pandemic, rather than having a blanket ban on going back to school. These are, you know, opportunities that we have to jiggle that. Of course, Nigeria has gone a long way. We've had some positives. We now have a dedicated Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, headed by a female minister for that matter. And we expect that the result, you know, that is linked to humanitarian, which is, like I said, is 9 out of 17, will be more, you know, addressed by this ministry. But the most important thing that I want us to go away with is that education cannot wait. We need to make sure that, you know, in order to meet the goals of education, which is the foundation for WASH, is the foundation for poverty, is the foundation for health, is the foundation for almost everything that we're doing in the humanitarian space. We need to work on health, especially anchoring on the health workers, ensuring that they have the right equipment and the right environment to work. And then the right remuneration are paid to them, especially those that are on risk. Until we pay them living wages, we're not going to get the dedications that we need, and we're not going to stop the flight. And finally, poverty will only be addressed only be addressed when we have addressed the core SDG 4: quality education, access, gender parity, and gender equality, ahead of all other major goals of the SDGs. This is the smallest summary that I can make in the context of what we are saying this afternoon, and I hope it, brings, into bring onto the table opportunities for, further discussions. Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you so much, Mr. Soji, right there. Yes, giving us strategies that should be put in place to address and manage emergencies and opportunities in the light of lessons from COVID and the attainment of the SDGs. One thing also that I appreciate more was the fact that we do not have to shut down the entire system. We have an emergency. So we can isolate places and try to work out how we can help them. So thank you. When we have questions, we'll be getting back to you. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Now, let's move on very quickly. Time really is very important to us here this time. Now we're going over to Mrs. Bumi Dipo Salami. I'm sure that you're there. Mrs. Dipo Salami, if you're there, please let's get you on the screen. She is going to be looking at implementation of the SDGs. And are we leaving women behind? A big question there. Because one factor about SDG is inclusion, leaving no women behind. So in this situation, are we leaving women behind? How should government, business, and private sectors involve women, plan to involve women in the implementation of the SDGs, including the response to address COVID-19? Mrs. Mumedi, you've got the floor right now.
Thank you so much, Aluwashel. I hope you can all hear me. My internet connection is not very stable, so I'm accessing from the back. Okay. Thank you so much. The earlier speakers, they have delved so much into what the SDGs mean for us and where we are when it comes to the achievement of the SDGs in Nigeria. When we look at the SDGs, it signposts the assurance of a just, equitable, peaceful, prosperous, and sustainable world by 2030 if we all play our part. I think I need to turn one off. Okay, sorry about that. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me better now?
Please go ahead.
Hello, are we good?
Please go ahead. We're
All right.
hearing you clearly.
Okay, so we have SDG 5, which aims at, empowering women, ensuring gender equality all around the world, and Nigeria is no exception. But the question is, like you asked, are we there yet? Are we even close? How do we see women? How do we improve the lives of women and girls? What are those barriers? Why are we not achieving this goal? It was part of the MDG goals. That was MDG 3. We didn't get there. Now it is SDG 5 with 9 targets. And for us, for me personally, it's about how does government interpret those targets? What exactly are we doing with women? How do we see the role, the inclusion of women in the lives of society? What benefits do we think this will bring to us as a nation? Are we okay? Are we doing women a favor by trying to improve their lives, or we are doing our society a great favor by making sure that all hands are on deck for the achievement of all the SDGs, that all hands are on deck for the improvement of our lives. When the SDGs were adopted in 2015, COVID-19 wasn't part of the plan. Nobody saw this coming. And what this has done to women is that it has aggravated the situation of women. When there is poverty, women and children, they are the main people that suffer the manifestations of poverty. When schools are closed, okay, children are not going to school in places where they don't see any problem with marrying off girls. Those girls that left school because of COVID-19, most of them will not return. That's what always happens. They will never return to school, and that will be the end of their lives. Okay? And then women will not have access to health services that they had access to, because right now Nigeria is almost in a recession. We are like 6%. Our economy, our GDP has shrunk by 6%. When all this happens, women bear the brunt. Okay? So prior to COVID-19, Nigeria was trying to make progress. We have voluntary reports. We say this is what we are doing to women. This is how we are trying to help women grow. But in the real sense of it, is it really happening? How many women did we have in the National Assembly between 2011 and 2015? How many do we have now? How many women did we have in the cabinet between 2011 and 2015? How many do we have now? How many women did we have as captains of industry? How many do we have? So those are the kinds of questions that we should be asking. And the first step, if we really want to achieve SDG 5, if we really want to include women in the life of this society of ours, the first thing is to make gender equality everybody's business. Right now, we see gender equality as government business. So the private sector doesn't see any role in the achievement of gender equality, in bringing women to the table, in including women in what happens in Nigeria. If we saw the role that the private sector played when COVID-19 broke, out in Nigeria. They came together, they rallied funds, and made that available for government to be able to try and flatten the curve of the pandemic. It is the same thing that the private sector needs to do in terms of the achievement of gender equality. Government alone cannot do it. Government will only try. But the thing is, when all of us are across sectors, private sector, the media, we have government sector, the private sector, the non-profit sector, when we all come together and have an integrated approach, that's the first step to take. And then another thing that we need to do is to ensure that we all understand what it really means when we are talking about gender equality. We need to know what are those targets. We need to popularize them. We need everybody to know what we are talking about. I have talked about financing. Financing is very critical to implementation. We have policies, we have frameworks, that goes to show that at least government is trying. But the thing is, policies alone, laws alone will not do it. If we really want to have our children in school, we want to have our girls in school, it needs some financing, and then we cannot overemphasize the role of social advocacy. There are norms that have to change. Okay, in our society, we need to see women differently. We need to see women as more than playthings. I know that Oluwaseun, you want me to wrap up right now. Is that what you're saying? I can see your hand. Okay, so that's why if Nigeria will make progress, we need to invest more in gender equality. We need to invest more in the empowerment of women and girls. Or you want me to close it? Hello, can you hear me?
I think the studio is connection is breaking. We're not hearing the studio, but we can hear you.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so essentially the question is for feminism, how can the media help in convening and developing consensus on important national and development issues, and what are your thoughts on solutions based journalism for the SDGs? Those are the questions. Femi Omo, let's go ahead. Can we do this in 3 minutes, like I said earlier?
All right, I'm checking the time. There is some distortion from your studio end, so I struggle to make out what exactly you were saying, but I reckon you want me to look at how the media can help along the line of our speech today about SDGs and how we can take this forward.
Yes.
Now, so I'll be quick. First and foremost, we do all know that media plays an important role in raising awareness generally, but even more importantly and more specifically about sustainable development goals. The few ways media can play a really pivotal role is by setting the example in covering topics like environmental topics, educating the public about the need for action on such topics as our environment, climate change, and there is a whole lot more to consider. Now, when you are reporting this subject, and I'm particularly worried about climate change because here in this part of the world, we don't get enough. I feel media doesn't do enough. International media does a whole lot. Sometimes we feel we are insulated. The world has become such a global village that whatever is happening in the West, gone are the days when you would only read it in the news. It affects us too. And remember that climate change links to every single one of those 17 goals in a way to reflect the emergence of the situation. So when you report, remember that what happens to our environment can be linked to other important issues, poverty, hunger, and all these other goals. Now, it's fine to continue to use certain terms and cliches like climate change, but because of the emergency of the times we live in when reporting, new words, approaches like emergency, like crisis, they can really propel a sense of urgency in the minds of policymakers and of course the general audience. So gone are the days when we are laid back, we just talk about it. If we see it as indeed we have an emergency, Mr. Moji Akinshola did mention where we are in the stream of time. We are just 10 years away from the goal, the end of the race. And the coronavirus, has done two things. One, it has shown us the importance of getting there quickly. On the other hand, it has also slowed the race down. So when we report, we need to report on the sense of urgency, and media must take it more seriously. There's another key role that media can play, which is to help forge connections between experts, civil society, and of course the audience. Now, you could do it in private with experts and civil society and then report it in the news, making sure the audience gets it. Better still, you could achieve this through organizing symposiums, workshops, lectures, stuff like this, where you include the audience, like you guys are doing right now on Splash FM. So you bring everybody together, let them share ideas, let them share projections and solutions. You let the audience watch, listen, read, and learn, and that way many would be inspired. And that is where change actually begins to happen.
All right, so thank you. I'll have to pause you. Permit me to just pause you. Well, I just want to make an announcement. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I'm just closing my announcement right now. And the announcement I'm making is that we will get off the live broadcast of this program on Splash FM, and then we'll continue on Zoom, but not after we have taken Mr. Minga, right? So, Mr. Bong, let's pause your thoughts so that we can accommodate Mr. Minga on the platform of Splash FM, and then we get back on Zoom. All right, so maybe I'll just say Mr. Adenuga should come on right now. Mr. Adenuga is to examine the business side and civil society organizations are showing the influence they have, to improve on the attainment of SDGs. It also should talk about how celebrities like himself would increase citizens' awareness and participation in the attainment of the SDGs. You also have the 3 minutes, and then we'll get off the live broadcast. So I'm going to look at now.
Can you hear me, please?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. Okay, so very well. Thank you very much for the questions. So the first thing is that do I think that the government, business, and civil society organizations are channeling the influence of celebrities? Well, yes, they are, but honestly, it's not enough. And there's a lot more that can be done. People want to copy celebrities. They want to follow what they're doing, and I think that the government can latch on that and get a lot more done. Quickly, I would say that where am I? First of all, I think that government should invest in making the platforms and all the things that celebrities do more accessible and more enabling environment for them to do what they do, encourage creativity, and make sure that entertainment is also positive and also strong. I'll move to the next question quickly. I'm going to say 3 things about it. That how can celebrities like me help to increase the awareness? I think that the three basic things. First, I would say is inclusion. That they should bring in celebrities to when they deliberate or when they're trying to form policies, they should include celebrities in that. And I believe that when they include celebrities in policy formulations, they will own it and they will be able to run with it. The next thing I would say is awareness. Femi mentioned something that sounded like that. I feel that celebrities should be more informed about what this is about. A lot of celebrities don't even know what is happening. I think that there should be deliberate efforts to get them to understand what is happening. Organize meetings and dinners and all whatever, to just make sure that they are aware of what is happening. And then the last thing I would say is budget. Content is the tool that celebrities use to reach out to people, and it costs a lot to actually create this content. I think that there should be a budget to help them to achieve what they are supposed to achieve, and that's it in a nutshell. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You are fantastic. Very fantastic. Because you're just on stage on Zoom. We're going to be on Zoom right now. We'll move on from the radio station. Because we have to adverts and then we'll sign out. Mr. Michael, we have to sign out right from the radio, but we'll continue. So at this time, I'd like Mr. Oblong to conclude his thoughts, while we sign out from the radio on the issue of the media and creating awareness, particularly in involving the populace and the stakeholders in the achievement of the SDGs. Mr. Oblong, you have the floor back.
All right, thank you. I was also going to say that there's something now known as the United Nations SDG Media Compact. and I'm talking for my constituency, which is the media. My media organization, my group, is a part of that compact, and quite a number of African countries now have representation, media organizations, and major news media companies around the world, propelling the media move toward more active SDGs related coverage. It comes down to coverage. It doesn't matter what it's done. Well, I'm not sure I can hear you. If you can hear me, there's some interference at the background. If you're trying to communicate with me. All right. So if you can still hear me. So that's important. Reportage. I've always thought it doesn't matter what you do. If it doesn't get reported, nobody knows about it, and then it becomes a problem. For that very reason, the media is a critical stakeholder and partner in attaining these development goals and pushing the narrative, pushing the story, and getting people to understand it. So what are my thoughts on solution-based journalism for SDGs? Well, to be sure, there is documented and growing evidence that when people think something can be done about a problem, then they become more receptive and attentive to that information. When people see, hear, or read solutions-oriented reporting, then those stories change the way they think about topics and make them feel more inspired and, of course, optimistic. So I would say we should continue with what has been started, a growing push across the development community for solutions-oriented journalism. Now, such storytelling can increase listener-reader engagement and can also mobilize audiences to act in an impactful way. So it's gone beyond asking who, what, when, where, and why. For solution journalists, the focus is on an additional question, which is how. How? The best examples of reporting on what is working should sound and read like something like a detective stories. Should feature a response to a problem, not just highlight the problem. Provide evidence of results, produce insights that can help others respond and discuss limitations. So that is where we should go. Gone are the days when the media was just the reporter. Now, the reporter should seek solutions, report on those solutions, compare those solutions. Now look at the daunting effort to end global poverty in all its form everywhere. Now that's the first of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. If you look at that, you'll see right there you have a candidate for solutions journalism. And that's the way it should be. It should be about solutions. You don't just talk about hunger, hunger, hunger. Yes, hunger is in the land, but what, how can we solve the problem? These are the ways that media can contribute by identify an issue or question as being of concern, being as specific as possible, then of course, asking whether responses are missing from the public conversation. The media should start looking for candidates for solution stories. And after selecting a story to highlight and push out, which of course does not have to be the solution to a problem, but does need to be a step towards a solution, then we can then tell the story, tell it right, then promote and engage. If media does this, then we can really be playing our role and it will be for the better for everybody. 10 years to go, it looks hard, but we can still attain it. Thank you.
For that. Thank you very much, Femi, for for those brilliant statements. We're talking about your final submission here is that journalism should be about solutions, and that we should create a sense of urgency in all that we project in the media. Brilliant. Thank you very much for that. I would like to go back to Gbenga Adenuga. We want to take you again. I know that you delivered your presentation in a hurry earlier because we are trying to wrap up on radio to come back to online platform. So, Mr. Gbenga Adenuga, I'd like you to go back to wrap up now.
Oh, thank you very much.
Before be free, I'd like us to just get in about government. You talked about government needing to do more. Let's go now. Let's take your wrap up now in this area.
Okay. So, like I said, I mentioned three things. Inclusion. Inclusion is so important because a lot of celebrities, I mean, if you call them celebrities, they have a mind of their own, right? And if they're not included in police formation, they don't own it. And that's very important. And you might think it's very is bland, but it's not. It's very important. We need to include them in police formation. We need to make sure that they have their own office and they have a right. So we actually have a right to police formulation. And once we are involved, we'll be able to own it and be able to drive it. And that's very important. I think then the next thing is awareness. Now, this is very, very key. A lot of celebrities don't even know what is happening, right? They don't even know what this is all about, and so I think that we need to have deliberate plans and strategies to influence them. Now, I believe that if one celebrity is aware of what is happening and it drives it, by just getting one person, that is a celebrity, know what is happening, 1,000 or 2,000 more people already know what is happening. So it's important to take hold of these people because they're influencers, and so you need to get them aware, plan it well and deliver these events and programs that can get them aware. And finally, it's empowerment. I mentioned empowerment. Empowerment is key because content is the tool that celebrities, use to pass the messages across. And content is not cheap. Good content is not cheap. So we need to have a budget to make sure that celebrities have what it takes to produce this content. Of course, working with the media to be able to push the content to the ends of the earth. And basically, that's how it works. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Benuga there. Okay, so I'll quickly just say that let's take a few questions from the audience, and then we'll go for wrap up. Okay, so let's take the wrap up before we take contributions from the members of the audience. So let's return to Ms. Yemisi. Let's return to Ms. Ransom Kuti for closing statements. Before we go to the audience, I'd like to just have you just do a minute or two, just crystallize your thoughts once again for the benefit of those who are just joining in and those who would like to have more like a second take to your submission, madam.
Thank you so much. I want us to focus on solutions, because we dwell a lot on our problems, but what are the solutions? And we have to all understand that unless we start from the grassroots, from the communities, from where we all live, we will not either reform or transform the economy or attain the SDGs. We are doing something in Lagos Island because unless we take one area and at least say, look, let's all concentrate on maybe one local government, and engage the young people, engage the private sector, engage the traders, the informal sector, and see how we can strategize and lift at least one local government in Nigeria out of poverty, because poverty is actually the key driver of our inability to develop or meet the MDGs, SDGs, or any other DGs. So if we want to change the paradigm, bring everything, whether it is international, whether it is federal, whether it is state, let us anchor it in the grassroots, in the local government, in the communities. And I want each one of us to leave this forum and go home and begin to look around you. What can you do about the SDGs in this community that I live in? What are the areas that I can engage in to affect climate change and the crisis? We're not supposed to call crisis, right? Climate emergency. What can I do to alleviate poverty in my community? and let's engage the state and local governments and other government functionaries in ensuring that that key nugget, that focal point of elevating, because there's no country that develops without getting the economy together. That is where the solution is. Whether you are working in climate, in the environment, or in the humanities, or the challenged or trafficking, look at the economic aspect and see how you can begin to develop the strategy, bring the collaboration, get the ownership of the people, get the knowledge. Because unless we're all very informed about what these solutions are, then I'm afraid we're going nowhere. So that's my final word, that to sustain and grow, we need to focus on economic development, reduction of poverty, and all of us have to work together at the grassroots in our local governments. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Focus on development, focus on the economy as well, and also focus on solutions. Particularly like the aspect where you said that we need to also take ownership. All right, let's go to Mr. Adeli for his wrap-ups now, for his closing remarks. Mr. Adeli, you have the floor now.
Thank you very much. I'm sure everyone can hear me. I'm saying it again, that except we take SDG 4 seriously, which is quality of education, every other goal of the 17 will just be a mirage. We are not going to achieve them. It's not a curse, but Africa or Nigeria cannot achieve the whole package of SDGs until SDG 4, which is quality and inclusive education, is taken seriously. We need to rethink education. Education does not have to be what the colonial masters handed down to us. Technical education, vocational education, science, technical education, and mathematics need to be taken very seriously, but as a package that takes us to the next level. Coming back to COVID-19, I am saying it again, we do not need to shut down schools in places where we do not even have evidence that we have COVID. We have states that do not have COVID at all, and they're shutting down the entire state. Why don't they shut down only one local government or two local governments that are affected, promote key infrastructure for online for the places that are affected, and allow the rest to be in school? We already have very poor pupil classroom ratio. We have very poor pupil teacher ratio. We have poor wash facilities in those schools. So how on earth is it going to be possible for us to shut down and think that, by waiting until we are ready, then we'll go back to school? We will never be ready because we don't even have the finance to make us ready. So again, what about our emergency situations? Only 24 out of the 36 plus 1 as functional emergency management agencies. Until this is, made functional and available, and people can connect with, level of, emergency situations within 5 minutes of it happening, or concentrate more on disaster risk reduction, we are not going to get anything with emergency management. That would be my parting shot. Thank you very much, moderator.
Thank you very much. One key, takeaway from your conversation is that we have to take SDG 4 seriously. It is the center of the SDGs, indeed. Let's return to Mrs. Bumidi for Salami. Just 2 minutes. Let's do the wrap up in 2 minutes, please. Can you hear me, madam? Mrs. Bumidi for Salami, are you there?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Oh, yes, now.
Yes, I am. Can you hear me now? Yes. All right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. My parting shot will be that to achieve the SDGs, we need to deprogram and reprogram Nigerians. We need to change our poor attitudes. We need to examine our norms and practices that are keeping us behind. that will not allow us to make progress. We need to learn to find solutions to our problems rather than expose our problems all the time. There are times we talk about poverty, and for me, the main form of poverty that we have in Nigeria is the poverty of the mind. That is the reason that, that is what has imprisoned us and kept us from making progress as a nation. We have all the resources. God has blessed us immensely, but there are things that we do, there are actions that we take, there are norms and practices that will not allow us to make progress as a nation. We have to do away with those practices. We have to treat one another with kindness. We have to see women as human beings. We have to figure out how can we have resources that will help us achieve these MDGs without all the stress that we're going through at the moment. The SDGs, they are so encompassing. There are 17 of them, and they are all very well integrated. The achievement of one leads to the achievement of the other. So we cannot focus on the climate, on climate alone, and at the expense of education. We cannot say that we are focusing on healthcare at the expense of the empowerment of women and girls. So these are the things that we need to look at as a nation. We need to see the SDGs beyond fulfilling all righteousness. We need to see the SDGs, we need to stop paying lip service to achieving the SDGs. We need to mainstream gender equality into our national plans. We need to know that every member of the society is important, whether they live in the rural area or they live in the urban areas. So we have to pay attention to the development of everybody, and that is the only way that Nigeria can make progress. That is the only way we can achieve the SDGs. Let's not treat them in silos. Let us look at them holistically from 1 to 17 and see how the achievement of one relates to the achievement of the others, and how they are interlinked and how they are related. That would be my parting shot. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much, Madam. We'd like to take questions now. Maybe 5 or 6 questions, or 10, yeah, maybe 10 from the audience. First of all, I'd like to ask if you have a question, you can just raise your hand and let's see. Then maybe we will look at the text questions that have been sent as well. So, have a question, let's see your hand.
Are you there?
Are you there?
Okay.
Okay.
Any questions?
Any questions, please?
Okay. If you have a question,
you can speak up now. Let's just speak and let's hear from you.
We have Professor Adenike Grant. Can we take her?
Okay.
Thank you very much, my brothers and sisters. I believe that, the fact that we are all together today means that we all want the best for our country. And we all have these important contributions to make. Now, we've been through so much together. We know what to do. We have talked and talked and talked. We have called our government. We have called ourselves. But I think I would like to adopt the strategies that have been laid out today. That is, look at the SDGs holistically, but carry them to different areas, as my sister Yemisi has said. If you look at all the SDGs in one local government, and we know what to do there, we will be able to scale up to other local governments. It's, I'm talking from the experience of health. Healthcare has failed because we continue to look at them from top down or from down up. But we are supposed to have a PHC focused healthcare, and PHCs at the community level. It's at grassroots level. But somehow the investment made there has been very, very poor. So our strategy must include, first of all, identify what the problems are locally, investigate them, then include all those who are involved, who are supposed to, including the people, the suffering masses themselves, and then invest in them. So that is 4 eyes. Let us decentralize, but coordinate. This is, and I'm so happy that at least our media people are rising up to the occasion. We need you. We need you to carry the voices from below upwards. We have talked and talked and talked. Our voices have fallen on deaf ears. In actual fact, what happens when we talk about this and that is the government responds, and builds something else, gives us something else, invest in a bigger institution, which does not reach the grassroots. So let's not go by that route again. Let us come together, carry these solutions to local governments, as Mrs. Yemisi has said, and as Madam Bumi Dipo Salamon has also said. The 1 hour is not enough for us to deal with SDGs. We have started well. How can we get this to be a recurrent thing? Let's say now a month or now 2 weeks or whatever, but there's a lot of work to be done. I have never felt so hopeful as I have today, because I see all of us trying to find solutions to the problems. Thank you very much. I'm so delighted to be among you and to know that we're all working together. That is SDG 17. Work together to bring solutions to the problems. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Do you have any other question or contribution?
Yes, can we take Professor Elimbodude?
Okay, Professor Bodude.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am, you are on, please. If you could hear us, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. I'm really delighted, to be here and to join the conversation that has been initiated. And of course, there is no time that is as apt as this when we are talking of the decade of the acceleration of the SDG, the implementation and the monitoring. I listened to all the speakers. First and foremost, let me just say that there is nothing as good as when we have a collaborative effort. And I've seen that happening. We've been talking about it, and I think it's very good, particularly when we'll lay emphasis on the influencers. We have many influencers. When we think of the influencers and they know about what we're talking about, each person has a responsibility. Advocacy is very important, awareness raising. That's why we keep on talking about the citizen engagement. Most of the time we talk, there is the high power thing, but the citizen engagement is very important, a situation where we go back to the community, just like Professor Greg has just pointed out. Many people in the villages do not know what we're talking about. Some of us are looking at a time when the villagers, the communities will say, oh, this is what we want in the budget. We've been talking to governors and the various government, but I think we are at that time, at the period now. When budget is being made, they will have to consult the various communities, not a ceremonial village meetings that we used to watch. Sincere, if to get sincere information. And that's why the CSOs, they are very important, like any other people, so that when we get, even the media are very important, so that they whatever the technical aspect, they have to bring it down, you know, to the villagers with the CSOs, and they understand what we're talking about. And until we get to that level, but I'm happy because we're talking about it now. But I don't want us to end this in talking alone. Actions have to come out. And the action is, we go back to the community level, we begin to tell them what is, and we make them own whatever projects that is being initiated in their community. They own it, they defend it. And under this situation, there is no way we will not see that improvement. Of course, we had an assembly yesterday. If you see the data provided on some of these SDGs and you look at the situation of Nigeria, it is abysmally low. But we won't sit down there, and that's why it is very important for us, even as we have come together now, we must come up with checklists at a particular time. What do we do? And we get people at various places. There is no place to get to. You won't see CSOs, you won't see media, you won't see people who we could talk to, who could work together, a collaborative effort. And that's what we're talking about. Thank you very much. Please, let's keep the flag flying and let's collaborate and work together and get data. Data is very important. That's why the academia is very important. We cannot leave them behind as far as this situation is concerned. God bless Nigeria and God bless everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Professor Helen Botude. That's how far we'll be able to go on this particular meeting today. And it's been a very fruitful one. We've seen a lot of solutions here. Seen a lot of people speaking all over the spectrum. The first thing that I want us to round up with is that collaboration is key, just like Prof said. The emphasis has to be laid on the influencers in ways that ensures they understand the issues. Citizens' engagement is also one very important issue she laid emphasis on, and inclusion in budgets. That I love so much. That day when we will have meetings at the local government level or the community levels, and then their voices will be heard and found in the lines of budget, you know, that we present as we walk the talk. Thank you, everyone. Michael, you want to thank all our panelists and the audience generally.
Yeah, thanks very much. I'd like to say a big thanks to all our panelists, Ms. Thank you for your time and your informed contribution, Mr. Soji Adeni as well, who spoke about the humanitarian crisis and the SDGs. Then you had Mr. Femi Daniel Obon, as well as Mrs. Ifo Salami, and the entertainment entrepreneur, Mr. Benga Adeluga. I'd like to also say thanks to our partners. You know, everybody who has been instrumental to this meeting. We call it the village meeting. It has been people's meeting indeed. Splash FM would like to say thanks to you. Say thanks to Global Call for Action Against Poverty, GCAP, Justice Development and Peace Commission, JDPC, and the Nigeria Network of NGOs. Thanks to all of you for making this a beautiful session.
And I'd like to thank very especially Mr. Oluseyi Oyebisi, who facilitated this meeting. And I can say that we will have this again. So he wrote something here. To achieve the SDGs, we need to change norms and stereotypes. We need to figure out how to have resources to attain the SDGs, and the goals are encompassing. Attainment of one leads to the other, and we need to also include the women in the walking, talking, so we don't talk alone. My name is Oluwaseun Akinola, and I'm sure that all of us will not leave anyone behind.
I am Michael Olatun Bosun. I must say it has been breathtaking, co-hosting this session.
Yes, thank you very much.
Bye
And
for
can
now.
we all put on our video so that we can take pictures? Can we all put on our video so that we can just take pictures? And we're good. Thank you very much. Thanks to all our panelists. Thanks to all participants. We'll reach out to you via email. We've noted all the actions and we will we'll be sure to follow up on all of those. Can we all put on our pictures, our videos?
All right,
so
thank you.
Take quick pictures.
Thank you, NGO. Thank you.
Thank you, Uncle Soji. We really appreciate
Professor
you.
Grange, for coming on. It was
Yes,
nice
good to see
seeing
Professor
her
Grange.
again after such a long time.
Yeah, good to see Dr. Awuchika. Good to see a lot of...
Dr. Isaac, yes.
Thank you, that was great.
Professor Bowden, so nice.
Hello to everyone.
You're looking really good, man.
All right, bye-bye. Thank you,
Angelica
guys.
Michaels, bye.
Thank you,
guys. Bye-bye.
Michaels.
Wonderful time.
Congratulations.
Bye. Thank you.
Back again.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Thank you, ABC. Thank you so much.
ABC.
When you're not.
Thank you.
And if I'm going to get next time, walk.
Thank you, sir.
Well done, Mr. Michael Olatubosun, good to be here. Assembly. Awesome.
Yeah. If I got load, I'm going to take out.
Are you serious? I get during all this.
I'm at the flying one.
I couldn't get the one that was people personally. Now he's my person.
Nah. Macon Carbona. Mother Messia. What? Hey. So na popular. I pray God. I pray God. Hey, I'm gonna my one. Now one day. I'm not sure about that. I'm through that rubbish. Because you know what you didn't for too. When